Okay, so the tide's coming up and I've just spotted the world's most venomous fish sitting under this rock ledge right here. All right, got him. Take a look at that. That is the world's most venomous fish. We're getting out to the zone right now that we're gonna start seeing bull sharks. Big mullet. This is how we're gonna be catching the crabs today, in this crab pot right here. So what we're gonna do, go for a dive over in this little reedy area where I reckon crayfish might be sitting. Big mud crab in there. Take a look at that big fella. We're sitting in a pretty good place. What's up everyone, welcome back to another video. So we're back out at this shark infested creek that I've filmed at a few times over the past few years. But the reason why we've come out to this creek today is to not actually film any bull sharks. We've actually got a pretty crazy mission planned for the next couple days. So what I thought I'd do is try and catch some bait, go out to the mangroves with some crab pots, set them out in the mangroves tonight and catch the biggest species of crab that we can actually catch around here, the big mud crabs. And then what I thought I'd do is head a couple hours out west to the place where these big red claw crayfish live. Now, if we can get some big red claw crayfish and some big mud crabs and cook them up and actually see how they taste side by side, it'd be so cool. We'll take them out on my motorbike, my Suzuki DRZ 400, do a bit of riding, make a campfire and cook them up. But before we do any of that, we need to catch bait. So that's why I've brought this hand spear out here today. We're gonna be hunting around, seeing if we can see any sharks just cruising around the shallow water. Any species of fish will do, but the most common species that we're most likely to catch in this creek is the mullet, my favorite. Let's go. Heading further out to the deeper section. It's real low tide here at the moment, but what a cool creek to be cruising up. So we're just flying the drone up and down this creek at the moment, and not only are we looking for little bull sharks swimming around, but we're also trying to see where these mullet are sitting, to see where I'll have to kayak to and start hunting around. Yeah, the creek's looking so good at the moment, hey. Very healthy, very clear water, and very green around the outside. And that is what we're looking for. Little school of mullet sitting in the shallows. They look pretty small on the drone, but where there's small ones, bigger ones should be cruising around. I reckon we got a pretty good chance at getting one with the hand spear. All right, we'll land the drone, jump in the kayak, start heading down and try get one. Oh, look at this. Big school of mullet. Also, this could be a really good tree to sit on when the tide comes back up again and wait for bull sharks to actually swim underneath. I'm gonna keep this in mind for a future video. Pretty cool little creek though. We're getting out to the zone right now that we're gonna start seeing bull sharks. So this little corner right here often has a lot of mullet that come up into the shallows. So what we're gonna do, park up on the bank, wait for them to come up, and hopefully get a shot at them. Missed it, that was a big one. Oh, bad throw. But that was another mullet. Near that same spot, look, there's another one out there. Big mullet, there we go. Right through the back. Take a look at that. That is massive. All right, take a look at that fish right there. All right, we're gonna quickly kill him. That was a good shot. And that's a big mullet. Right, take a look at that. Look at the size of that mullet right there. That is a good size crab pot bait. It'll be bait for a couple crab pots. And also in a creek like this, if you wanted to, if you're doing a survival challenge, you could eat this fish. They're actually pretty good. I've eaten them out of this one creek system before. I reckon we try get one more. There's been a lot of missed attempts in between that shot, but I'm in the zone now. And there's so many more mullet that are cruising through. Pretty big flatty, hey? But yeah, we might even have to come back for that guy later on. The water's coming up, but there's a fish sitting just under there. It's staying still as well. Well, that's not ideal. Well, a spearfishing day Might be over. Now we've seen a couple sharks swimming around the shallows today. Normally we see a lot more. During the hotter months, I can come up here and see 50 or 60 sharks in a day. Seen about 6 or 7 so far, which is so cool. And there's definitely more that we can't see in the deepest sections. Something that I gotta be careful of when I'm spearfishing out there. One could definitely come up and bite you on the leg. We got enough bait for the crab pots. Let's get back out of here, head to the mangroves, set them up and leave them overnight. And further out in this same creek system, there's no shortage of life. These mangroves are home to some of the deadliest species here in Australia. And I tell you what, life would be hard if you were a mullet out here. From the moment you're born until the moment you get eaten by something, everything wants to eat you. Stingrays are one of the reasons why I try avoid walking through murky water out here, but they're not nearly as dangerous as the landmine of the sea, which I spotted moving under this little rocky shelf. Okay, so the tide's coming up and I've just spotted the biggest stonefish, the world's most venomous fish that I've ever seen, sitting under this rock ledge right here. We gotta find him before the tide comes up. All right, got him. Take a look at that. That is the world's most venomous fish. In the coolest little place as well. Hey, big fella. So we came out here trying to catch some breakfast, looking for mud crabs. Now, believe it or not, stonefish are an edible species, but this guy's too big, he's too cool. I'm gonna let him go back under his rock ledge in a minute. When you get a stonefish of this size, you know it's been feeding well and they're masters at hunting. You can see, look at the stomach on that fish right there. It's probably full of fish at the moment. Now, I filmed plenty of videos on stonefish before and said pretty much every fact about these animals. They're the world's most venomous fish, one of the fastest fish in the world. And when I say fastest, I mean when they're hunting, when they strike out and get their prey. Other than that, as you can see, they're a pretty slow moving animal. Look at that. See, they're very slow moving creatures. He's going at about max speed right now, trying to get away from me. And I'm guessing he'll find a nice little place tucked up in a little rock crevice. Look, there we go. And he'll just bunker down into the corner. And look how much he looks like the rocks surrounding him. That's why so many people stand on these creatures. And this is something that I've always wanted to film. So, see that white stuff on his face right there? All those little bumps on this stonefish's body actually release a fertilizer-like substance that actually helps plants and algae grow on this stonefish to camouflage them. And they are a mean-looking fish. Look at that. Pretty crazy. So I'm walking around barefoot at the moment. The thing that scares me is not stonefish this size, but out here on this little rock bar, there's no doubt smaller ones. And they're just as venomous. No matter how much venom you get pumped into you, it's still gonna be a trip to the hospital, and a very painful one at that. But he'll be. All right, we just got into the mangroves. I'm already getting hammered by mozzies, but we've got bait now and we've got crab pots. So what we're gonna do is go for a bit of a scout through these mangroves. The water will come up to about this high in a couple hours. So that's when all the crabs will be coming out and feeding through these mangroves. And when they smell that mullet that we just speared, they'll actually venture into those crab pots, get stuck in there, and tomorrow morning I'll come back here and check them, and hopefully we've got a big feed of mud crabs. There's a nice little stream down here leading into the main section. I'll show you these crab pots, then we'll set them up. All right, so this is how we're gonna be catching the crabs today. So how these pots work, right, is there's 4 openings around the sides of the pot, and these big mud crabs will smell the bait that we chuck in the middle of it, climb up here, and once they're in, not only will they be distracted by the bait, but they can't actually get back out. So what I'm gonna do is I'll cut up that mullet, chuck it in these crab pots, leave them here overnight, come back tomorrow, and hopefully we've got at least 1 big mud crab. But see this little stream right here? It's the perfect place to set the pot, because it's like the main highway that all of these crabs, all of these fish are using when that tide first starts coming up. So yeah, we'll set it overnight, come back tomorrow. Fingers crossed we got a big crab. So this down in front of us here is a big mud crab hole. As a matter of fact, it's one that I've caught a big mud crab in before. So just before we caught that crab, we saw a mud crab shoot down this one. Now I'm gonna try to do this all in one take. It might take a while to get him, but just to show that it's real. So you put your hand just under the mud. And you feel around, and yep, there's shell. This is an alright sized crab, eh? And you need to determine which way the crab is facing. Alright, got him. Yes! Look at that right there. That was the mud crab sitting down that hole. And we did it in one take. Look at, he's trying to go back into it. You're not getting back down there, mate. Take a look at that. Second mud crab out here in the mangroves. How good is that? We got a big feed for lunch. Now, just because I caught it in there a while ago doesn't mean there's not a crab in here right now. But the water inside this hole right here is a little bit stirred up. It's a little bit murky, which means there could be a big crab sitting in there. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna set one of the pots just outside this hole right here. Then when the tide comes up, if there is a crab in there, he'll smell that mullet and hopefully go into the pot. If he doesn't, tomorrow my hand's gonna be shoulder deep down that hole trying to get him out. All right, and we've just made it down to this massive dam right here. I've got the kayak off the car, and what we're gonna be doing for the next couple hours is trying to catch some big red claw crayfish, one of the biggest species of edible crayfish that live here in Australia. And in this dam behind me right here, there's heaps of them. So what I thought I'd do is not only go out there and set some yabby pots with some bait in them, leave them for a few hours down at this dam and try and catch some, but I've also bought my wetsuit, snorkeling gear, and flippers. So what I'm gonna be doing is dropping down off my kayak into some deeper sections of water where these crayfish should be sitting down on the bottom, and trying to snorkel down and grab a couple with my bare hands. Now I've just spotted a nice little rocky shallow section across the other side of the dam there. So what we're gonna do, jump in the kayak, head straight over there, chuck these pots in, and then go for a bit of a dive, see if we can get any. So I can almost guarantee that in one of these trees along this little section of bank right here, there's a koala sitting in them. I won't say that there's a good population of koalas around here, but compared to other areas, there's a lot of them around this little valley. So believe it or not, the best bait that you can use in this dam for these crayfish is rock melon or soap. So weird, but it's so much better than using stinky mullet like we used for the crabs this morning. So I'll cut this open, chuck it in the pots, eat the rest of it, and then hopefully catch some crayfish in the next couple hours. Just chuck it in there like that. We'll chuck the second one in there as well. It's a big log right there. All right, there's one, and here is two. We're probably gonna have to wait here a couple hours to even get one of these crayfish. So what we're gonna do, not only try find a koala up here in the bushland behind me, but go for a dive over in this little reedy area where I reckon crayfish might be sitting. Even small ones in the shallows would be good.
Let's go! That's massive! Look at that!
Alright, well how good's that? 5 minutes of snorkeling, and we've got probably one of the biggest crayfish that I've ever caught in this dam right here. That's so good, and that's dinner for tonight. But we need about 5 or so more to actually get a good feed.
Another big one. Take a look at that. Look at the colors on that one.
Take a look at him. That's the big fella. It's gonna taste really good as well. All right, it's been a couple hours. See if we got any. All right, come on. Surely. Yep, there we go, there's one. Take a look at that big, there's 2 of them in there. 2 big crayfish sitting in that pot right there. Oh, that is so good. And that's dinner for tonight. So now we got 4, and we've still got to check the other pot. Yeah, I'll put you back in there. Let's go check the other one. That is so cool. Big crayfish. Here we go. Oh, another 2 big crays. Those are massive ones. Couple little fish in there as well. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a big one. Take a look at that. Plus the ones that we got while snorkeling around as well. All right, so here's the 2 from before. And then what we'll do is we'll get these ones out and chuck them in there. And 2 more. Oh, look at all of that blue. Yeah, we need a bit more water for you guys in there. Oh, I'm stoked with that. Big mud crab in the bag and a bunch of red claw crayfish. All right, it's early morning, day 2. We're back out here in the mangroves now. If the pots are full and we do even get 1 legal crab today, what we're gonna do is we've got all those red claw crayfish. We're gonna jump on my motorbike, chuck the red claw crayfish and the mud crab in a backpack. Now, if we don't have any mud crabs in the crab pots, I'm gonna catch one with my hands first because we're not leaving the mangroves empty-handed. Big mud crab in there. Look, you can see the hole just down there that he would have come out from. Take a look at that big fella. That's actually a giant crab, and he's been chewing on that mullet down there. Come on, mate. That is actually one of the biggest muddies I've ever caught. Compared to my hand, look at the size of that claw. So good. Big male as well. The females don't really get this big, especially with claws of that size. And if your finger was to go in that and it was to clamp down, it would snap it straight away. Very powerful animals. And they use this to defend themselves from not only other crabs, but me. All right, big mud crab out in the crab pot today. We checked the other pot, there's nothing actually in it. There was a big hole in the side of it and all the bait was gone. So I'm guessing a crab might have chewed its way out of there, but I'm happy with that. We'll go cook up this big muddy with all those red claw crayfish and see which one's better on my motorbike this afternoon. Alright, so this is my Suzuki DRZ 400E Cape York edition that I got around the start of this year. Suzuki were actually nice enough to hook me up with this one. I'm so keen to take it on some more bigger trips in the future. I think she wants to go on a big mission back up home to Cape York where she comes from, looking for crocodiles off this motorbike. But yeah, I've got some cool upgrades coming in the mail for this bike at the moment, so I'm keen to do a full run through and a full camping trip on this motorbike. Head way out into the bush, maybe pack a hammock on the back of it. But yeah, actually such a cool and fun bike and perfect for all the missions that I go on around this area. But what I'm gonna do now is jump back on the bike, head down to a little creek at the bottom of this valley and cook up the mud crab and the crayfish. So whenever I come out into the bush, I'd always rather just collect my own firewood off the floor, but it rained last night, so we had to buy a bag of firewood, which kills me because I just like it being natural. So bear with me just on this one adventure. We're sitting in a pretty good place. Take a look at that. One of the biggest mud crabs I've ever caught. And these crayfish are just the coolest little things, hey? Like, look at that. So we just chucked them in the freezer. So they've been put to sleep in the most humane way possible. But look at that animal. It's so crazy that these things are just sitting out there. That's what I have to be careful of when I'm walking through the mangroves barefoot, because these guys will bury themselves in the mud. And yeah, if you were to stand on one of them, it wouldn't be very fun. So usually while cooking crabs, you just get a bucket of salt water straight from the ocean. But we've just got creek water today, so we're just gonna add a bunch of salt to it. You can never add too much salt. And we'll start heating it up. Once it's boiling, chuck the crab on for about 11 minutes and the red claw crayfish shouldn't take that long. Let's go. Alright, so this has been a really cool action-packed mission over the past couple days, filming out here in the wild. And I just wanted to say thank you all so much for supporting me and watching these videos. Even when I don't feel like going out and filming, it pushes me to get out there in nature. And yeah, we've got a lot more wild adventures coming for the end of the year. So if you do want to support me and you're new to the channel, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, comment down below. And yeah, there'll be plenty more cool videos coming soon. All right, crayfish and mud crab. We're gonna see which one tastes better. It's actually not even a question. The mud crab has so much more flavor, and this is just eating them plain, nothing else in them. I'm surprised there's actually barely any flavor in that crayfish at all, but the mud crab tastes so good as usual. Alright, I reckon that's it for another video, everyone. Take a look at that. That's the big claw that they use for actually crushing stuff and fighting other crabs. The other claw that they have on the other side is for like ripping apart flesh. So if they find a dead fish, they'll use that smaller one to tear it apart. All right, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys again next week in the next adventure. Remember to like and subscribe if you want to support this channel, and let me know what other videos you want to see me film for the rest of the year. All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it. See you next time.